Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tacos Tuesday at 10. I am Vince Montero, and I am your host as always. Don't have a special guest today. We will have one in 2 weeks. If you guys were here at the last session 2 weeks ago, I did say that we were going to have a guest speaker today, also from the Helium 10 family, but we have pushed that off for another 2 weeks as we finish wrapping up some things with the new feature that we're launching for all of you guys. So pretty exciting if you're using Atomic. If you're not using Atomic, you're still in the right place as long as you're here to ask PPC related questions. So today's session is strictly an Ask Me Anything. So as long, again, as it relates to PPC, I am here to help answer those questions, whether it be new features in Seller Central, optimization questions, as long as they're specific. It's hard to answer vague questions about PPC, like why is my ACOS high? So for those of you that are just tuning in, maybe for the first time, we like to always see where you guys are checking in from. So put in the comment section where you're viewing from. I believe we're on YouTube and also from being viewed on Facebook today. So check in. Let us know where you guys are checking in from. And what I'll do while we do that is just quickly explain two things. One, why we call this Tacos Tuesday is not just because I like tacos, which I do, but we try to mention that metric when we can as a alternative or addition to just talking about ACOS. For those of you that watch your PPC campaigns and optimize towards a particular ACOS, you know that that is your primary gauge for checking if a campaign is successful. However, since we do know, and I do teach, that your PPC sales do help your organic sales, even maybe not at the start if it's a brand new campaign, but they eventually do help you rank organically simply by the fact that your ad is being seen by hundreds of shoppers. We do know that that effect has a kind of a flywheel, and we start seeing organic sales pick up potentially down the line depending on how much advertising you're doing. So looking at your total sales is always a smart thing to do when you can, and that's where the tacos metric comes into play, which is total ACOS. So we just have the word ACOS with a T in front of it for total. That is a metric that you can see in our tool Atomic, but you can also definitely see that as well if you look through your business reports and give yourself enough time for, if you're running, say, sponsor brands or sponsor display, give at least 2 weeks of time to look at what your total sales are, since we do have 14-day pixels on those two particular campaign types. And you can always check your total sales and then your tacos doing it that way as well. So we see some people checking in already today. We've got Pakistan, and we've got somewhere between Arkansas and the Rockies. Hello, Maz. Hello, Jake, as always. We love to hear fun questions. Like Hatchet comes in a banned item. Can I sell it? I don't know. I don't know if that's a real question, Karachi. I'm pretty sure it is probably a banned item. But let us know again where you're checking in from. And we do also like to do at the beginning of these episodes, answer a few questions that you guys have previously submitted. Typically, I just pick two that I answer prior to going into one of these sessions. But since today is literally just an Ask Me Anything PPC session, I've selected 4. And hopefully the people that asked that question are on today's episode so that they can get those answers. If not, you guys might find some value in the questions that have been asked that I'm going to answer right now. So why don't we jump into those questions? And if you guys have additional ones, feel free to start typing them in right now, and then I'll get into those after these initial 4 questions. And if you want me to jump into Amazon, if you want me to jump into Seller Central to explain anything, we can go ahead, and we're set up for that. So for right now, let's just go ahead and we'll dive into those 4 questions that were sent to our email. I probably should have mentioned that. The questions that I'm going to answer are from an email that we've set up so you guys can send questions ahead of time. It's PPC AMA at helium10.com. And this is also if you have topics of interest that you'd like me to specifically cover, go ahead and send that information to that email address as well. It's a read-only email. There's no responses, but you can definitely ask PPC related questions, and I do get them. I do see them. They get filtered to me, and that's where these questions that I'm going to answer right now are coming from. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. So Ivan asked, is there a way to remove a search term from negative keywords? This is probably something I should just show if Ivan is on, but yes, you just archive it. So this is a question that I think it's the second time that I've seen that question. So when I pop over into Seller Central, which I think I'll just do, I'll show you guys. You just archive the questions. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. I'll just do that really quickly right now. Let's see. Let's pick one that I know has some good negative keywords. Okay. All right. So when you select a negative keyword, you can see immediately the option is archive. It's not very intuitive, so I understand how this is a problematic question, because if you're looking at your negative keywords in a particular campaign, it's not visible that you can actually do that. So Ivan, go into the campaign just like I did. Go into the ad group. I'm looking at campaign level here. So these are campaign level negative keywords. You probably have them within the ad group. You can put negatives in either campaign level or ad group level. And you just have to actually click on the keyword that you want to get rid of. You want to remove from your negative keywords, and that is where you can do that right there. I was just told that you guys cannot see my screen. That's not helpful. So let's do this. I'm going to move it from this screen over to this screen. There we go. All right. So you guys didn't get to watch me go through all the steps of finding the campaign, which is great. So I'm in a campaign right now. Basically logged into this account, found a particular campaign that I wanted to review, and then looked at the campaign level anyways, because I knew this one had campaign level negatives. You can see they're all right here on this screen. And then you just click on the search term that's already been added as a negative, and you'll see the archive button right there. All right, so that is the answer to that question, Ivan. Very long answer. Apologies, you guys, for for not showing the screen initially. But let's go ahead and get the next question up on the screen. How come 75% of my sales are from ads and 25% are organic when I have 600 product reviews? So this is this is an example of a semi-vague question. There are a billion reasons why you could have certain results. 75% of your sales are from ads is because maybe you're running a lot of PPC ads. I have no idea. There's no context here. So what I would suggest is if you're primarily running PPC campaigns to drive, product sales, then you're actually doing pretty good. If this is months and months and months later, then yeah, that might be the sign that your campaigns aren't picking up some of the organic sales, which means that your PPC campaigns aren't really being remembered by particular users for any reason. So at this point, what I recommend is always optimizing the listing, making sure it's memorable, optimizing the copy, optimizing the images. that might improve the organic ranking. And it also depends on comparatively. You have 600 product reviews. Do all your competitors have 1,000? So it's difficult to answer a question like this only because there's too many variables. But as long as your 75% of your sales are coming from your ads, and they're really maybe a decent ACOS, then I wouldn't really worry about them as much. So it's really only problematic if these sales that are coming through from your PPC campaigns are super high ACOS. So hopefully they are not. All right, go ahead and let's see the next question. All right. After how many sales should I move a search term from broad phrase to an exact match campaign? I remember you mentioning there should be a minimum of 2, but in my case, the market is very small. I rarely get more than 1 sale from a single search term. My sales are more spread out across multiple search terms. What do I do in this situation? Because I'm getting sales, but not more than 1 from a single search term. So, Wasi, if you kind of answered your own question, if my suggestion for making sure there's at least 2 sales before you move a converting keyword is simply because it verifies for you without you having to check it. It verifies that search term is probably super relevant. There can be opportunities for a single sale to a search term that if it's just 1 sale, it could be a one-off. The shopper might have typed in something into their search bar, seen the results, and then clicked on your ad. Maybe Amazon showed it like as a compliment, and it's similar to your product, but not exactly. So sometimes the search terms that you get sales from search terms that are kind of loosely related, they might not convert as well if you target them directly. So since you're not really getting all that many sales, you can actually verify this process. Just look at the 1 sale, and if that keyword is relevant to your product, then move it. Not move it, add it to a manual keyword as well. If it's working, if it's below your ACOS target and it's only got 1 sale, as long as that search term is valid, then go ahead and move it. So the minimum requirement is of 2 is kind of more like a rule to put into our rule set, so that if you created a rule in our platform, Atomic, you wouldn't have to do any of that. The rule would be set at 2, no validation required, and it just gets moved. If you're doing this manually, check it yourself. All right. What's the next question? And then we'll go into some of the ones that I see come through. Sandeep asked, Amazon recently launched a new option in sponsored display, ad type optimized for viewable impressions. For all brand registered users, I believe this was already there for some customers in DSP. It was. Is it better for all the sellers? Big brands, small brands also, what should be my goal with this ad type? So the majority of the times when Amazon launches a new capability for how to run a campaign, typically it's always a good thing. In this particular one, I would say it's the same. So it's literally telling you for your sponsored display ad type, do you want to optimize this for visibility, or do you want to optimize this for sales? So you would think that they're the same, but they're not. It's kind of like in our tool Atomic, we have a bid algorithm that optimizes towards impressions, and we have a bid algorithm that optimizes towards particular ACOS. So we also have a bid algorithm that optimizes just towards sales. So there's different ways that you can optimize your campaigns. And what this is saying is that are you more in branding mode? Did you just launch this product? Then yeah, you might want to select optimize for viewable impressions, because you're going to get, that means that you're telling Amazon, I want a lot more eyeballs. So you're probably just going to get a lot broader reach by optimizing towards this particular one. So yeah, that the goal with this isn't an ad type. This is just a lever within the sponsored display. The goal with that is, again, visibility, just like it says in the description of it. So if you're brand new, just launching a campaign, if you're still in data collection mode, then yes, I would say that this is a good option. If you're not, if this is a campaign you've been running for a long time, you've got enough data, you're pretty stable with it, then no, I would continue optimizing or using the standard algorithm versus switching over to this one. All right. That is the questions that we got through actually both our AMA email and as well as actually a couple of people posted on our ads. So if you guys see our ads, it's probably another thing worth mentioning. We do social media posts on these sessions. You can always also ask questions in the social media posts, and we'll see those too. Sydney, who's helping me in the back end, she finds those, saves those, and makes sure that I see them so that we can get that reviewed as well. So let's just go ahead and scroll through maybe from the top and see what kind of questions that we've got today. Again, if you've got additional questions you want me to pop into Seller Central or Amazon, let's go ahead and post those in there so I can do those. Okay, Kim says she skipped Rahil's question because it's too vague. Rahil, sorry. Do you organize your optimization work on different schedules for auto research proven and ASIN campaigns? For example, do you optimize autos once a week, etc.? How do you track your changes? So to keep it easy, Kim, me personally, optimizing once a week is sufficient as long as you're past the initial data collection phase, right? So if you're in launch phase, that first couple of weeks, maybe a month, which is what I suggest, you're really actually in data collection mode. So you really shouldn't be doing a lot of optimizing during that period. You're just collecting the data. Once you have that data and you're able to negate a lot of the poor performing search terms, maybe reduce bids on some higher ACoS search terms, or potentially even pause keywords, then like once a week is sufficient. If you're, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a big brand right now. If you're Nike, who doesn't advertise on Amazon anymore, if you're Nike and you're spending, $10,000 a day on advertising, you're optimizing every single day because that of the data that you're getting, right? How many your keywords are super massive search volumes, you're spending a lot of money, then you're optimizing every day. So you kind of got to figure out, well, where am I at? How am I getting that much data that I can optimize, every other day or daily? Standard though, once a week should be sufficient. And no, I don't change them based on the campaign type. Unless your auto campaign is running, a lot of your budget, which auto campaigns do tend to do. That might be a campaign type that you'd want to touch base every couple of weeks, or sorry, twice a week, 3 times a week potentially. But other than that, no, there's not really any variation in when to optimize different campaign types. You might be you might have a super, super high volume account. If you do, then you might want to optimize more than once a week. But if not, I find that at least once a week is pretty standard for most sellers. That works. All right. Wasif asks, after how many clicks should I take off a keyword? For example, I have a relevant keyword. It has over 15 clicks but has no sales. Should I switch off the keyword or reduce the bid to see if I get a sale? As it is a relevant keyword and I really don't want to take it off. I really need your advice on the best strategy for this. So as a general rule, if it's got 10 clicks and no sales, you can probably pause the keyword or ASIN target. If it's exact. If it's an exact keyword and it's got more than 10 sales, yeah, you can pause it. If it's a broader phrase match keyword, then you don't pause it. You look at the search terms and you find the search terms that are wasting. You find the search terms that are spending, have more than 10 clicks and no sales. And those are the ones that you negate for that keyword. So it really depends on your match type for that keyword. I always recommend reducing waste on broader phrase match keywords by paying attention to the search terms, because oftentimes you'll find when you look at the search terms that are being linked to a particular keyword, it's not the same as the keyword. Sometimes it is, but typically it's not. So you want to make sure that you're looking at those regularly. And as soon as a search term gets up to over 10 clicks and no sales, then that's definitely something you probably want to negate. Now, if you have a really high margin, then that might change, right? If you've got a $20 product, and your CPC is $1, then yeah, 10 clicks is $10, and that's a 50% ACoS, even if you were to get a sale right after that. So that's not potentially good. If your product is $150 though, then you might want to increase that click, because you can spend a little bit more and still be at below a decent ACoS. If you're in that example, if your product's $150 and your CPC is $1, 10 clicks is $10. All right. If you get 15 clicks and no sales, that's $15. If you get on the 16th click, if you get a sale, 16 dollars spent for a $150 sale, that's worth it. So it really kind of depends on your margin. To answer this question, is the biggest variable to what the best answer is to this question. However, standard practice is, from I don't know if it's a psychology standpoint, but if in looking at the total number of clicks to a search term or an exact keyword, and it is 10 clicks and it has no sales, it probably won't get any sales. That is a kind of a general rule of thumb. But if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, if you have the ability to be a little bit more aggressive because of your margins, I would say go ahead and do that. So I hope that helps clarify that question. Amir asked a question. I just want to note it. Amir, you need to contact support. So you asked a question about Kevin Shui, but that's not something I can answer here. I have no idea what that is. So you need to contact our support at helium10.com, and hopefully they can help you out and make that connection for you with Kevin. All right. Next question. Sarah asks, if we stop already running campaigns due to some reasons and now run new ones with the same search term, is it affect the product rank, or will it also give us the same results? A lot of variables, Sarah. If we stop running a campaign, how long? How long did you stop running the campaign for? If it was for a day or two, then it's not a big deal. Why you would launch a new campaign with the same search term? Well, number one, you can't bid on a search term. So I'm assuming you mean keywords. So Amazon likes history. So I'll just answer this question this way. If you create a campaign and launch a campaign, you've got different specific keywords in it. If you need to pause the campaign for whatever reason, maybe you're out of stock, even though those technically get paused automatically once you're out of stock. But if you want to make sure it doesn't spend when you're out of stock, you pause a campaign for a day or two or a week. You're fine when you turn that campaign back on. Do not create another campaign with the same keyword. That's just dumb. Why would you do that? Just turn it back on. If the campaign is shut off for a month, then yes, you might lose your positioning. You might lose your ranking. It depends on how competitive that niche is. That affects what I just said. So if you've got a super competitive niche and you turn a campaign off for whatever reason, if it's super competitive, you might drop your ranking after just a few days to a week. But either way, general rule of thumb, if you have to pause a campaign, then turn it back on when you can. If it is a stock issue and you're just running sponsored product campaigns, don't worry about that, because it's done automatically. When you're out of stock, you're not in the buy box, so your campaigns don't run. So if you're doing it for that reason, I just want to make sure that you know that you don't have to. For those of you that know, if you're running sponsored brands, though, you do have to pay attention to that. Your sponsored brands campaigns may potentially run still if you're out of stock on a product, because sponsored brands have 3 products in them. So if all 3 of those products are out of stock for your sponsored brand ad, then it'll shut off. But if you've got just one product out of stock and you've got 3 products in that sponsored brand ad, your ad will still appear just with 2 products. So Amazon will still spend your money as long as the product is still in stock. But if it's not, it does turn off automatically. All right. Let's see. Arana asks, one of my competitors is targeting my listing page aggressively and starting stealing my sales. That's why my conversion rate has dropped a lot. How to tackle this situation? My ACoS becomes almost a double now. So the only thing that you can do, Rana, is target them back. I'm assuming you're talking about you're seeing them on your listing. If you're not seeing them on your listing, then that is something that you can definitely do. That's called conquesting. So if you're seeing that being done to you, then make sure that you're doing it back. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at that just so you guys understand what I'm talking about when I say conquesting. Let me make sure you can see my screen, the correct screen. So I'm just going to do a generic search. All right, so bike rack. Okay, so number one, if your competitor is targeting your listing for sponsored brands, then you want to do it back. You might need to spend a little bit of budget ahead of time. You might need to set some budget aside to say, hey, I'm going to spend a little bit more this week to try to get my shoppers back. If you're running sponsored brands, then make sure you're increasing your bids across your converting keywords for your sponsor brand positions so that they appear. You can also try to target your competitors' product here so that you appear here, not them. As an example, let's do this. This is a Steady Rec is an actual brand name. So let's see if they appear. Yeah, see, they appear here. So you could also target this keyword if you were selling bike racks and you were a competitor, and then you might appear here as well, but you're going to pay through the nose for that because this is a very expensive position. Now, on the listing itself, when you click on it, the other thing that I was saying is target their listings. You know what your competitors' ASINs are. If you don't, you should. And then run sponsored display ads so that you potentially appear here and here, right? So you see that this user or this seller is doing this correctly. They're conquesting their own page. So not only are they, well, there's actually, this is technically sometimes an ad too. It's not there sometimes when Amazon wants to do their own promotions. But you can see that this is the brand. They've also got an ad for one of their products here under the bullets, and they've also got an ad right here under the buy box. These are sponsored display ads. You can only run these if you are brand registered. So if you're not brand registered, get brand registered. That's the only way you can run these ads that you see here that are on the listing. So you can get back at that competitor, and that is also the only way that you can run sponsored brand ads. Other than that, if you're just running sponsored product ads, then the only thing that you can do is temporarily increase all of your keywords that you have converted for you, so you definitely appear in this search, but more than they do, right? Oh, that's weird. I just did bike rack. Let's see. Usually, the sponsored ads are in full screen, which is interesting. Typically, they're in little product tiles. So who knows why Amazon is doing that right now. But either way, you want to make sure that you're higher on the page than they are. So you're going to spend a little bit more money. But that really is the only way that you can utilize PPC to kind of get your sales back from your competitor. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. Let's see. Okay, well, I'll answer this one. I want to answer Rahil's question about ACOS too. If we ranked organically and get organic orders daily, should we close PPC or minimize the bid? You shut off your PPC, you're going to start losing those organic sales. So no, don't do that. If you're super worried about budget, then yes, just lower the bids for those keywords that you're ranking high organically. But a part of the reason why you're ranking high organically is because of your PPC ads. Your PPC ads are your impressions or visibility. If you are no longer seen, then shoppers will forget you, and then your organic will start going down. So I would always recommend maybe just lowering the bids and versus actually turning them off. If you do turn them off, make sure you're on top of that. As soon as you lose a little bit of organic ranking, you're turning those sponsored keywords back on. That's a lot of work, but if you want to do that, I go ahead. If you have the budget, though, I really think that it is beneficial. Let's see, to try to rank in more than one spot. Now it looks like bike rack is just showing these results all the way across, except for here. So I really don't think that it's, if you can afford it, you want to be seen, or let's say, how do I say it? It's not a bad thing to be seen both here in this sponsored position as well as here in this organic position. I just happen to know this particular product would be in both these positions. So they're paying to be seen for the word crutches. They're number 2 sponsored. They're also number 3 organically, and there's also their video. But like, how much does that stand out to you as a shopper? You're seeing them, 1, 2 times in one scroll. So if you can afford it, especially if you're just launching, if you're building up your ranking for your product, this isn't a bad thing to have. It solidifies to the shopper, because shoppers are getting more wise to the fact that these positions up here are sponsored. They're getting wise to the fact that people are paying for these positions. So if you can be seen both in the paid position and you're being seen in organic position, to me as a shopper, that means okay, this is a valid product. This is they know what they're doing. They're showing up in 2 different places. At least if they know what they're doing here, it's probably a good product. So kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but hopefully that helps. Let's see. So Raheel asks, what metric do you recommend following for lowering ACoS? How frequently should you optimize the campaign? So I kind of answered that question before. Depends on your volume. Minimum once a week, maybe twice a week, optimizing the campaigns. And there's no metric for lowering your ACoS. It's just activity. The only things that you can do to lower your ACoS are reduce bids for keywords that are spending too high, specifically if they're exact, or looking at keywords from your search, from your broad match or from your phrase match keywords, looking at the search terms and seeing the ones that are performing poorly and making the negative. That's it. That's how you lower ACoS. There's no other way of doing that within PPC. Externally, what you can do to lower your ACoS, improve your listing. Better images, better bullet points, better title. The more viewers or more clicks you get, the more sales you're gonna convert, because the listing is fully optimized. That's gonna lower your ACoS. But for within PPC itself, just optimizing the keywords and optimizing the campaigns is all you can do by lowering bids or negating. If you guys don't know what that means and want me to walk through how you would do that in Seller Central, let me know. We still do have time for that. And it's also something that I'm doing in Freedom Ticket. So for those of you guys that are not aware, we just relaunched Freedom Ticket. So it's being released in modules every single week. I think there's 1 or 2 modules being released. So I'm currently filming PPC modules for it's Freedom Ticket 3.0. And I will be actually going through just how do you optimize campaigns in Seller Central by doing some of the things I just said, lowering bids and making search terms negative that are wasting your spend. All right, let's see. Tony asks, cheers, how quickly does Atomic's algorithm respond to changes in top of search percentage? Instantly, Tony. We're connected to the Amazon API, so anything that you do in Amazon, that's what we see. That's what gets through. So if you change anything, so how do I explain this? It doesn't change the Atomic's algorithm. The algorithm is the same no matter what within our tool. It's just, it sits separately from Amazon, but we get the data from Amazon. So if you're top of search placement for Amazon, and Amazon is recognizing that you've increased your top of search, and it's showing you more in that top of search, then the data that you're getting from that is what is being fed into Atomic. So I don't want to say it's instant when you make changes in Seller Central. Sometimes it's 24 hours before they send us that data. But for this kind of thing, Amazon doesn't shoot over a message just saying that you increased your top of search percentage or anything like that. It's just Amazon runs it, we get and has data, we get that data, and then we make recommendations based on the data that we get. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, who else do we have? How many competitors, yeah, should you target in a campaign? As many as you can. So there's two different ways that you can do that. One way really doesn't work, and it is if you are targeting a competitor. Let's pop over back to Amazon. If you are targeting a particular keyword, let's see what happens here. iWalk. All right. So you can target particular keywords here, but if your listing isn't fully optimized, or if your listing isn't relevant to this particular product, then it's not going to really work as well. So some of these potentially these sponsored ads here. So what this means is that they've got this I walk crutches, they've got this as a keyword, right? So these guys, MD Form Vive and this under crutch, are bidding upon I walk crutches. The problem is that if people are typing in I walk crutches in this area, they're most likely looking for this particular product. So these are really not, these don't convert very well, is basically what I'm trying to say. The smarter thing, I think, to do is to target the listing itself, because you're taking advantage of the fact that the user searched for something, maybe by name, right? And they've went to the listing, and your knee rover right here, you can see, is and be your walker. It's a terrible name. Be your walker are targeting this listing, right? So you're taking advantage of the upfront PPC that's already happened. And by that, I mean, obviously this company, iWalk Crutches, is spending money to be seen. You can see here, their sponsored brand ad right here, first in the sponsored ranking. So they're already spending money to be seen, right? So if you can kind of piggyback on that, if a shopper clicks on it, even though they do want this product, obviously, but these are really strong placements. So the more times you can appear here or here in this type of placement, then the better. Now, if you're not running sponsored display, and this kind of goes back to the kind of conquesting question I answered earlier, if you are just running, I'm going to turn this off. If you're just running sponsored products, then you aren't running sponsored display, so you can't get that position here or here, but you can get this position. So it's not as prime as the below the bullets or below the buy box, because that's where people's eyes go, right? They're reading bullets, their eyes go here. They're looking at the buy box, although most of the time this isn't here, other sellers. So this is higher. But products related to this item, see, sponsored, 4 stars and above, sponsored. So if you're running sponsored product campaigns only, you're not brand registered, you can still be seen here. So you're still on this listing, you're just lower, and there's a lot more competition. You can see there's 39 pages of alternatives. So every single one of these products that you're seeing, 39 times 4, all of these products are targeting this particular ASIN for this listing. So I was going to just see where the ASIN is. So this ASIN down here, right? So you can use our Helium 10 tools to figure out, which I just turned off, one of the ways that you can do that. But you can use our ASIN grabber if you wanted to just grab all the ASINs that appear on this page. You can do Cerebro, which is a much better way of actually looking for ASINs. So effectively, I would say that the best way to target competitors is on their listings, and the best way to find those listings is by doing a search in Cerebro, doing a kind of reverse engined look at some of your competitors, finding other competitors in the same space that are competing for the same keywords, and target the listings. So I would say now, as many as it depends on the volume, but I would say that you would really only want to target a maximum of probably 20 to 30 at a time. If it's keywords, I would say less than 20. But you don't want to. You want to target a lot of ASINs, but you also want them to get coverage. So you don't want to overfill your ASIN targeted campaigns. You want to make sure that you're staying, below 20, I would say, so that the ASINs that you've found after you've done this amazing research, so the ASINs that you found actually do get some coverage. So I hope that makes sense, Carolina. All right. What else do we have? Jake says, have you seen instances where a new item doesn't convert on a relevant search term, relevant term that is then negated, but after it is more established, that negative term is archived and performed well? No, I have not. A new item doesn't convert well on a relevant search term. Yeah, so if you got a search term that just isn't performing well, it's wasting spend, or maybe it has a super high cost, and then you negate it. But after it's more established, that negative term is archived and performs well. Yeah, okay. So I have seen instances of this, and this is kind of, especially as we're coming towards the holidays, this might be something that you want to pay attention to. If your product is at all related to or being giftable, you might want to add some gift related keywords into your campaigns so that you're found when people are on Amazon, and gifts for Dungeons and Dragons enthusiasts, right? So people will be searching for those types of things starting, as early as probably next month. Those types of search terms aren't going to perform well at any other time of the year except for what? Except for right before the holidays. Seasonal products, right? If your product is swimsuits, right? You've got search terms that are probably going to convert for you in spring and summer, but those search terms might just waste money in the winter and the fall. So you do, as you look at your search terms, you should be kind of at least trying to discern, why is this search term not performing for me right now if it's relevant? Like Jake is saying, in this case, this was a relevant search term. So I guess timing is the factor that you guys should be thinking about. Is when you're negating search terms that you think should have converted, just ask yourself, is this just a timing thing? Did I have a really crappy product listing, and that's why these search terms performed poorly, and that's why I negated them? Maybe if you fully optimize your listing with brand new images and brand new bullets and brand new title, you might want to go back and archive some of those search terms that you negated, because it wasn't really the search terms that were performing poorly. It was your listing that was converting poorly. So there are definitely instances where I would say that you'd want to take a look. Hindsight is 2020, right? But you want to make sure that you're looking backwards sometimes at the things that you've archived, and if anything is related to timing, or if you've done a complete overhaul of your listing, then that might be time to test, removing them from that negative, like I just showed you at the beginning of the session, removing them from negative and just seeing how they do. I would say that that's kind of a best practice. But although, it really depends on what it is. Is it a seasonal item? Is it the listing? Is it just a gift related search term? So you just got to pay attention to that. But great question, Jake. Finally. I like to pick on Jake because he likes to pick on me. Ahmed asks, how to optimize campaigns bidding if we decrease the bid by 20%, will Amazon throttle our impressions? So if you decrease your bid by 20%, will Amazon throttle? Well, if you're decreasing your bids, then you're not getting throttled. You're lowering. So no, you're not going to get throttled. Unless you're asking if you're being throttled backwards, then the answer is yes. When you increase your bids, you're more likely to be in the running to be seen as for an impression. When you decrease your bids, you are less likely to be seen in the running for an impression upon a customer's search. So it really depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to save some money because the bids are not doing very well, or sorry, the keywords are not doing very well, then yeah, you want to decrease the bids. But again, are these all exact match keywords? Because if that's the case, then yes, this will work. If these are broad match keywords or even phrase match keywords, then this doesn't necessarily work. You have to look at the search terms, and the search terms have really, I mean, they have a correlation obviously to the bid price for that keyword, but the search terms are the things that are actually spending that bid. So clean up your search terms first, and I would say even before doing something like reducing bids across the board by 20% across your account or across your campaigns. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's see. Who else do we have here? She's asks, suppose my competitors bid on a keyword 50 cents and my bid is $1 USD in down only settings. So how much Amazon will charge? Will it be $1, my exact bidding amount, or 65 cents, or maybe 75 cents? Oh, she's so if your competitor's bid is 50 cents and your bid is $1, then it really depends. How many other competitors are there in between? How many other people are in between that 50-cent bid and your dollar? So if you're literally just saying, I'm at $1 and my next closest person is 50 cents, which is super highly unlikely. But let's just hypothetically say that's the case. Your bid's $1 and your closest competitor is 0.50 cents. Then you're going to, if you win that, that auction, right, then you're going to pay 51 cents. Right. So it really depends. Most likely the lowest competitor is probably, somewhere higher than 50 cents. But if you're bid down only, that's what it means. Your bid's only going to bid down to the next closest competitor, right? That's why your CPCs are typically always lower than your bid if you're doing bid down only. If you're bid doing up and down, that kind of throws the whole thing kind of out of the window a little bit, because they're reducing, but they're also increasing as much as 100% if you're allowing them to. So the only way to know exactly how much you're going to spend on a particular keyword bid is if you do fixed bidding. So if you have all your campaigns, which I would not suggest you do, if you have all your campaigns set to fixed bidding and they're all $1, you're going to pay $1, right? So in that scenario, you would pay 51 cents. So I hope that makes sense. All right. So let's see. I know I saw another one. Let's see. If some of our keywords are getting cost CPA is above the profit margin, then what should we do? Then your settings are not set to bid down only, Ahmed. So you'd probably want to switch it to down only. So for those of you who may not be clear, there are actually 3 different types of bidding that you can do. Let's just go over to Seller Central so that we make this clear. So let's go all campaigns and let's create a campaign. Sponsored product. All right. So we're going to leave that. I think I can leave that. All right. So what we're talking about here is your campaign bidding strategy. So what you'll note, Ahmed, look what's defaulted right now. Up and down. So Amazon's being kind of sneaky. So check your settings. If you're probably set to dynamic bids up and down. If you thought you were down only, then you just need to check it. So you can see that, as of today, I don't know if this is just an instance, but I have noticed this off and on for if you're creating a brand new campaign right now, you're automatically set to up and down, not down only. I highly suggest you launch all campaigns at down only, right? Because when you're just launching campaigns, you're in test mode. So you want to get the data, but you don't have any proven keywords yet, right? You only want to do up and down when you have gone through that data collection mode and you have the keywords that you know are converting for you. You got the bids down, then maybe try up and down. Amazon itself even says, I think I taught this at my last webinar with them, don't turn up and down on a campaign until it gets at least 50 sales a week. So I don't know why. I don't know why it's set right now by default to up and down, but I did that on purpose because I wanted you guys to see that it's not set to down only anymore by default. So if you thought it was, double check it. Now you should have seen that when you created the campaign, right? Because it's set right there, but you might have glossed over it because you're used to this being the default, right? And if you want to check to see what your setting is on your campaigns, then let's see. I just go back. Then you just want to actually go into the campaign itself and check, right? So I think, let's see, why is this set to video? I don't know why. Let's just find a regular one. No, not sponsored brands, sponsored products. All the settings wrong for you guys today. So go into the campaign and check on campaign settings, right? You'll see the bidding strategy right here. So Ahmed, you're probably, if you went into your campaign, you're probably going to see that it's here. Go ahead and switch it to dynamic bid down only. All right. Let's see. We got a couple other questions. You guys, any more questions? Come on. Who else is curious? What do you have going on that I can potentially help with? Can you show us how to read some of the data to help better do PPC? I can't seem to find that part of it. I'm assuming that you mean the optimizations. So yeah, actually that's what I said I might potentially do, right? So if you're going to optimize your campaigns, it's a little harder in Seller Central than it is than I'm used to doing in the tool that I built out. But there is one cool thing that Amazon recently launched, is this targeting button right here. So right now I have everything just on, doesn't matter if it's paused or not. So this is basically let's just look at last month. So we're just looking at 1 month's worth of data. If you got your charts on, it shows you all, it's highlighted there. I typically don't have the charts on because I can just read the numbers here. But you have this new targeting button, which is kind of cool. It's only, I'm hoping everyone has this because it no longer says new and it no longer says beta next to it. So I'm hoping everyone has this. If you don't, then expect this to be visible sometime soon. So for the month of August, I'm just looking at, well, it has set to enable. So I'm just looking at enabled campaigns. And this is the performance of all the keywords in the entire account, as well as the auto campaigns. So auto campaigns have 3 different match types or targeting layers to them: complement, close match, substitutes. I always forget the 4th, but there are 4. And so this is, it's kind of cool if for your sponsored display campaigns, if you have exact match campaigns that you're running. Let's see. Targeting type. All right, let's see. So this is kind of cool because these are this is the exact data, right? So if I want to optimize exact keywords, this is actually a cool way to doing it because you're just looking at your targeting lever. I don't know why this is all saying pause. Oh, here we are, delivering. Okay, so this is just looking at everything. And you can see the results of that month. You can sort it by, what's it pre-sorted by? Let's sort it by sales. So still a new feature. So I think they're still working out some of the things. Like, I don't know why it wasn't automatically optimized by spend, for example, why it's not automatically sorted by sales. Maybe I have 0 sales for exact match keywords. That's probably what it is. Let's try a different one. So phrase is the next closest one that I would say this might be cool for, because phrase is pretty close to this working. Because the phrase match keyword actually has to be in that search term, all right? So it looks like there's no sales for that either. This is interesting. So this might not be this might not be working yet from Amazon. Let's see. I know we definitely should have sales from broad match keywords. So yeah, it looks like there's still a little bugs in this tool. See, even when Amazon launches things, there are bugs. But let's see. Oh, I had impressions equals 0. That's why. Why didn't you guys tell me? All right. So in any case, this is a cool way to just get an account level overview, high level overview of all the keywords, all the targets. You can see a category here. A category is considered a target. Keywords are now technically considered targets as well. But this is, see if I can make it bigger, a quick way for you to see. I still like to look at ACOS. Amazon's being very aggressive at pushing ROAS. We're probably going to see ACOS leave soon. So we should probably start getting used to ROAS over ACOS. But let's just sort this by ACOS. So and one more. All right. So now we're looking at the highest ACOS keywords and targets. There's an ASIN target right here for the month of August. All right. So you can immediately just know, okay, there's a problem here. This has got a 76% ACOS. This has got a 64% ACOS. And you can decide what you want to do about it. Now, you have a suggested bid right here. So Amazon's giving you their recommendation of what they think you should your bid should be. You can see that the actual bid is quite a bit higher than what they're suggesting. So you know what? This is probably a good suggestion to take if I wanted to keep this particular keyword. I'm just going to apply that because I actually like that suggestion. 266 was obviously way too high, right? So let's see if this is, so is this 64%, 65%? It's too high. The suggested bid is actually lower than what we're actually bidding upon here of 225. So I would go ahead and apply that. Now, keep in mind what I just did though. These are both broad match keywords. So all I did was lower the bid on the bucket for bike rack for wall and the bucket for wall mount bike rack. And by bucket, I mean it's a broad match keyword. So there's tons of search terms that are being linked to this particular these campaigns or these particular keywords. And that is what is most likely causing the high ACOS or the wasted spend. So when you want to optimize from the search term level, not from the keyword level. Now that I figured this out, let's filter by was it targeting type? So I can do products or audiences, exact. So again, this targeting button is now handy for exact match keywords and for ASINs because this keyword is exactly what the customer typed. So if you're sorting by, did that keep? Yeah. If you're sorting by ACOS, I know last month, I know that this particular exact search term, right? Because it's exact match, had a 42% ACOS, which is not incredibly bad actually, but it's a bit high, right? So the suggested bid is way lower than what is actually here. So in this instance, again, it's not that bad. These products are $150 minimum each, or 161, I should say, depending on what sales that they're kind of doing. But I definitely don't have a problem with lowering this to $3, right? So we're addressing the fact that this is above, let's say, a 30% ACoS target. So this only really works, though, for exact match keywords or for, let's see if it does products and product targets and audiences. Product targets and audiences. So if you're running any ASIN-based campaigns, this is helpful. This is handy. You can see the ASIN is the ASIN. There's no search term. The ASIN is what's actually being used. And categories. Categories, however, I take it back. So a category is like a bucket, right? A category in your ASIN targeted campaigns, you can target by ASINs or you can target by categories. So in this example, a category is bike racks and stands. Anything that's under $70 with a rating of 4 stars and below. I can see that because these refinements were made for this category by just hovering over it. But this is a bucket, kind of like a broad match keyword. So that means there's tons of search terms that are actually being attributed to this particular category. So I don't know why they're connected. It should be product targets and it should be audiences. But hopefully you're understanding my point. My point is simply that if you're going to optimize using this particular tool, then only do it really for your ASIN targets and or for your exact match keywords. You might get away with it with your phrase match keywords because those are a little bit closer to exact. I definitely wouldn't do it for broad match keywords, even though I just reduced the bid on 2 broad match keywords. I didn't pause it, right? So it's still fine. But the other way to optimize your campaigns is kind of the old-fashioned way. You either do a report, right? So you're gonna build out a report and look at all your search terms, and then manually go through that search term report. Maybe you're going to upload it into Google Sheets. Maybe you've got some Excel skills and you can sort by ACoS and you can look at your account level that way and see what's not really working. But the standard way to do this in Seller Central without having to really do any reports is, now if you've got a lot of campaigns, this is going to be a lot of work. But you can see right here, last month, this one campaign only had 1 sale for a 93% ACoS. So that is a far cry from everything else. Everything else is 19. Is that correct? Wow, that's a big spread. So for last month, yeah. So definitely there's a problem with this one campaign, right? Only 1 order. So the way to do this is just by looking at, I believe these are exact match. So this doesn't work. So these are exact match. I could have addressed this in that targeting field that I just showed you guys, or you can go into the campaign just like I showed you, and let's just sort by ACoS. So actually sort by spend. So it looks like there's not a particular keyword that's driving this. It's the spend, right? So last month, it's these particular 2 keywords that spent with no money, right? I might want to make this a negative, but I'm only looking at a month, right? So if you're going to pause keywords, you actually want to look at different time periods. In Amazon, you can only go back, I think, 90 days. So let's just see. In the past 90 days, if vertical bike rack right here, still, yeah, see? In the past 90 days, it still hasn't done anything. It spent $40 now, 22. So this is definitely something that can be paused. So I'm going to do that. So this is not the old fashioned. This is the standard way of doing this. Finding the campaign with the high ACoS, going into the account, looking at the data, and making some optimizations. Now, what I wanted to show you though was actually, since there's no high level overview of the search terms, then that means that for your broad match or phrase match campaigns, you're still going to have to go into the account kind of just like I did. Auto campaign will work. This broadened. Okay, so now we see some even higher ACoSs. So that auto campaign has a 90% ACoS in the past 3 months. So For your broad match campaigns, your auto campaigns, your phrase match keyword campaigns, you have to go into the campaign, into the ad group, and look at the targeting. Now, you can look at the targeting. This is the 4 different levers that I said that you guys have access to. So you can optimize from this. I can see here there's 2 different levers that are actually off. But as far as looking at what is working or not working in this particular campaign, again, it's an auto campaign, so it's just the search terms, right? If it's a broad match keyword campaign, you got to look at the search terms. So now, unfortunately, instead of 90 days, you can only go back 65 days in Amazon. So this is the reason why it's, if you're doing monthly search term reports and you're saving them, you'll get a longer view. You'll get a longer view of data, but that's basically building out Excel files for each month and then putting them together so you can get longer views. That is how you can get past 65 days. If you use a tool like Atomic, you automatically can go back many months, depending on when you started with the tool. But to optimize this high spending auto campaign in the past 65 days, we're just going to, well, I'll do it 2 ways. We're going to sort by ACOS, see what is the highest ACOS. It looks like there just hasn't been really any sales. That's what the problem is. So there's no high ACOS campaign. But let's see spend. There's probably some high spenders. Yeah, so not that bad. But I can tell that, but see, this is only 65 days. Let's see if we can do, yeah. The problem with doing this in Seller Central, again, is you only get 65 days worth of data. And as you saw in the previous view, the 90-day view, there was some waste here. So what this tells me is potentially that waste has been addressed, right? We've already gone through and we've cleared out the things that were causing the, because in the last 65 days, this has got 2 sales at a 20% ACOS. That is really a lot better, a far cry better from what we saw when I did the past 90 days, right? Which was July through now. I'll just do day before, right? So that same account we were just in right now, the past 65 days, 20% ACOS. But the month before, it was probably really bad. So the month of July probably performed poorly, and that's when it got optimized. And that's why you can see the high ACOS here. All right, so I went way over in time. Let's see. Hopefully, let's see. Were there any questions related to what I was sharing? As I was not looking at the questions while I was in my optimization mode. So, she's asked, so if our budget permits, it may be a good strategy to bid crazy high on some super important keywords. Yes. Yeah, she's if again, if you're trying to regain ground, then definitely you want to, if you have budget, bid super crazy high on your important keywords. But again, if your listing is not fully optimized, it doesn't really matter. So there's all kinds of other variables that you can that affect that. All right. How many keywords ASINs would you recommend in each campaign? That will be the last question. I don't want to focus on Atomic Kim since there's potentially not a lot of Atomic users in here. But how many keyword ASINs would you recommend in each campaign? So CJ's question, yours will be last. That is a good question. It is something that we have a couple different training modules here at Helium 10, a couple different blog posts on. If you just go to our blog post and put in campaign structure or campaign structures, there's a great blog post about that. And there's also, I'll be incorporating that same into the Freedom Ticket training I just mentioned earlier. That's going to be released at some point next month. But as a general rule, I wouldn't recommend more than 20. I said this before. I wouldn't recommend more than 20 keywords or ASINs in a particular campaign. Anything over that, you're probably just not going to get any impressions. So there's no point in putting it in there. Now that rule changes depending on the search volume of the keywords. If you've got super high search volume keywords, then maybe only 5 in a campaign, because those are going to spend. And they're, if you blend super high volume search volume keywords with lower volume search volume keywords, those lower volume search term or those lower volume keywords aren't going to get any impressions, because all the higher volume keywords are going to be eating the budget. So you want to no more than 20, but you definitely, more importantly, you want to look at the search volumes of the keywords that you're trying to target, and you should split them up between high search volume and maybe a middle tier search volume if you've got enough keywords, but definitely at least a high and a lower search volume campaign. That's the only way to ensure that these keywords that you're targeting, that you've found maybe through research or looking through your own data, that's the only way to ensure that they actually do get any kind of impressions, is by making sure that they're not being outspent by higher search volume keywords, or just by simply that you've just got too many keywords in a particular campaign. All right, so that is a wrap for today. If you guys have any questions that I did not get to today, please make sure to shoot that over to ppca@helium10.com. If you've got particular topics that you want me to cover or expand upon from anything that I share with you guys today, feel free to post or ask those questions as well. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks, where we're going to be covering a new section of Atomic. So this will be an Atomic focused one in 2 weeks. And we're going to be sharing how we are giving you greater visibility into how your search terms and your keywords are performing across your account in a much more visual way than what we currently have, or even what Amazon has. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys then. Take care.